Hello everyone. I'm Akemi Dirikina.
And I'm Haruka Fuji.
We are from Kansai Soka High School, Japan. We researched the Bond Treaty in Japan from a high school perspective. Japan is in a difficult situation. Japan has a hope toward nuclear abolition as the only country which experienced nuclear attacks. But it is true that Japan relies on US nuclear umbrella and cannot abandon the military force. So for our research, we looked into the situation of Japan, and we investigated the awareness and opinions of the Bond Treaty in Japan at our school using the survey and interview. And finally, we will discuss about our findings and conclude with the suggestion for further research.
First of all, I will explain the situation of Japan. Japan has hoped to abolish nuclear weapons because Japan is the only country which suffered from atomic bombings. So, civil society has taken action toward nuclear abolition. For example, they collect signature. Hibakusha gave testimonies for young generations, and Japan has held peace memorial ceremonies every year. The government also has played an important role in international society. The government has submitted resolutions to call for united action toward nuclear abolition to United Nations every year. And it is a coordinating country and co-chair in Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Also, it is a founding member of Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative with Australia.
Although Japan has contributed to nuclear abolition, Japan has the reality that Japan cannot abandon the military force. Japan has several safeguard concerns, such as increasing threat from North Korea and several territorial issues with China, Korea, and Russia. And considering these issues, and since Japan has only self-defense force, Japan solely rely on US military. So, facing this dilemma, Japanese government decided not to join the Bond Treaty. And according to the official statement, they explains that they made that decision because the Bond Treaty is not so effective. Because all nuclear weapon states oppose the treaty, so it will widen the division between nuclear weapon state and non-nuclear weapon state. And Japan hopes both nuclear weapon state and non-nuclear weapon state to collaborate each other towards the goal of nuclear abolition.
We think knowing this difficult situation in Japan is crucial for us to abolish nuclear weapons, so we conducted survey and interviews at Kansai Soka High School. And first, I will introduce our school briefly. The founder of our school is Dr. Daisaku Ikeda. He has continued to write proposals on nuclear abolition and peace for the past 30 years to United Nations every year. And in his proposal this year, he mentioned about the nuclear ban treaty, and he encouraged the government to join the ban treaty. Also, he has held dialogue with world leaders on the topic of nuclear abolition and peace. And this picture is our school in last week. Okay. Based on his philosophy, our school focuses on peace education. So there are many activities for students to learn about nuclear issues, such as fieldwork to Hiroshima, signature collecting, and classes on peace that teach us about nuclear issues. Then I will explain the details of our project. We conducted questionnaire to 500 students from grade 10 to 11, and that is over 70% of grade 10 to 11. The questionnaire includes questions to to measure students' basic knowledge on the nuclear issues. And also it includes questions to ask students' opinions on the nuclear abolitions or Japan's situations. And for those who got wrong answers to the questions, we prepared the correct answers, so we could not only measure students' awareness on Japan's situation, but also we could teach students by providing answers to the questionnaire. We also had group interviews with 15 volunteer questionnaire respondents so that we could encourage them to raise their own opinions on the nuclear abolition. This is a screenshot of our questionnaire. We conducted in Japanese, and we used Google Form. We created questions from three aspects. First, basic understanding of nuclear weapons. Second, basic understanding of the Ban Treaty. And third, students' opinions on nuclear issues. First, we asked students whether nuclear weapons should be eliminated or not. Surprisingly, 98% of students answered nuclear weapons should be eliminated. So that means almost all students in Kansai Soka hope to abolish nuclear weapons. Then, we asked students basic knowledge. We asked students about current situation of nuclear issues and nuclear issues. Then, only about 42% of students knew how many nuclear weapons exist in the world, and only about 46% of students knew which country do not have nuclear weapons out of these countries. So even though many students in Kansai Soka hope to abolish nuclear weapons, only less than half of students have basic knowledge on the nuclear issues. Next, we ask students about the Ban Treaty and Japan's situation toward it. Less than 60% of students knew the Japan decision, that Japan opposed the Ban Treaty. Then next, we asked students the reasons of Japan's stance to students who knew that Japan opposed the Ban Treaty. And, half of them knew the reasons. And almost all of them mentioned about close relationship with US. So these students deeply knew the dilemma Japan is facing. Finally, we asked students whether Japan should join the Ban Treaty or not. To students who knew the Japan's stance and reasons behind of that. And almost all of them answered Japan should join the Ban Treaty because Japan has a responsibility toward nuclear abolitions, so they deeply recognize Japan's responsibility as the only country which experienced the two atomic bombings. Some students answered Japan should not join the Ban Treaty because Japan cannot protect ourselves without nuclear weapons, and there should be alternative way for nuclear abolition.
And after we conducted the questionnaires, we had the group interviews with 15 questionnaire respondents. And these are the ideas that students had. For example, one of the students thought the merit and demerit of losing nuclear force should be clarified. And some students noticed that Japanese TV doesn't discuss about the Japanese decision so much. And some students felt it's childish that many countries feel safe with nuclear weapons. And some students thought maybe Japan can be a permanently neutral country. And through these questionnaire and interviews, we found that almost all students in Kansai Soka High School recognize the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons and think nuclear weapons are unacceptable. So almost all students think nuclear weapons should be eliminated, and many students think Japan should join the ban treaty. And however, we also found that not so many students do not know about the dilemma Japan is facing. However, our questionnaire provides answers to the questions. Our questionnaire is the tool to teach students about the Japan and the ban treaty. So now all the students who took our questionnaire know about the reality Japan is facing, and some students who joined our interview could deepen their understanding of the situation and create their own opinions. And so why it's so important? We think that without recognizing the reality, the voice to hope the nuclear abolition doesn't have so much power to change the situation. So we think that people who advocate nuclear abolition in Japan should recognize the reality of Japan. So for our further research, we would like to continue this questionnaire in our school, for example, to the visitor of open campus in our school and the freshmen of our school. And for our further research, we would like to conduct this if we can conduct this questionnaire in other high school in Japan, we can have the more accurate data to measure the general awareness of Japanese high school students. And if we can conduct this questionnaire in other American and Russian high schools, we can have more perspective to see this situation. So, and this questionnaire the purpose of this questionnaire is to measure awareness, collect opinions, and most importantly, this can provide knowledge of the ban treaty in Japan. And after the questionnaires, we would like to have discussions on the topics of how Japan can contribute to the nuclear abolition and how Japan can overcome the dilemma, so that the students can deepen their understanding and develop their own opinions, and so that we can empower the voice to abolish nuclear abolition.
The founder of our school, Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, said, "To bring the brilliant ideal of nuclear abolition into being as a lived reality requires that we confront and triumph over feelings of powerlessness and resignation. What is needed is the courage to initiate action. It is the passion of youth that spreads the flames of courage throughout society. Through our research, we sometimes felt we were powerless because nuclear abolition is so huge for us, and what we do now seems little. However, if we never overcome the powerlessness, we will never achieve our goal of nuclear abolition. It requires the passion of courageous youth. Let's work together to our goal with our courage. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
So you asked some questions to your school's students about whether the nuclear weapons should be eliminated or not, and I think 1.2% of the students didn't think nuclear weapons should be eliminated. Did you find any specific reason for that?
Students wrote that it should be, but it's not now because it's unrealistic to abolish nuclear weapons now, so it shouldn't be now. Some students answer like that. Yeah.
Thank you.